on. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Jordan Garber Now podcast. I am your host, none other than Jordan Garber, and obviously this is the Halloween special, our second interview of the evening, none other than Doug Masters. Doug, you've been on this show before. You answered my open challenge once, and here you are again on my show, but not answering an open challenge. You are here by invitation this time, so it's great to have you back on.
Hey, bro, it's good to be back. You got a good gimmick going there, a good show going. And, yeah, I've been on there quite a few times. But anytime you need me on here, you got my number.
Well, Doug, you have had quite the career as a professional wrestler. We covered Puerto Rico last time, but this time we didn't really cover, WCCW and the legacy of Portland wrestling and the NWA. Now, let's get started. Let's talk about your matches with, like, Billy Travis, Scott Norton in his early days, and Larry Oliver. Those three guys, fuck, man, those guys were great workers back in the day. What were your thoughts on working with them?
Oh, man. I tell you one thing about Scott Norton. I worked with him up in Pacific Northwest for Don Owens, and he worked stiff, man. He couldn't help it. He was so big. And he always got mad if you didn't fire back on and get stiff with him just like he was you, and he'd hit you harder, man.
Oh, shit.
I'm telling you. Oh, I broke boards over him and stuff like that, and he's kind of, that's all you got, But that's why he worked. He works, some guys work stiff, but he didn't expect it back. But that's why I always worked. I worked stiff too, but not as stiff as he could work, man. He was just so big, and he didn't know his own strength.
Man, the only time... Oh, sorry, go ahead. Finish that up. That's a very... Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say Billy Travis. I got to know him down in Tennessee and in Texas, man. He was like my brother from another mother, man, working him. And he started out in the 80s and works with just about anybody. Had that guitar gimmick he carried where he busted that guitar over you. And that really got your attention. But he taught me a lot. I taught him a lot. But he was in it longer than I am. We lost him about 10, 15 years ago, man. He was in the tandem bed and got out of the tandem bed and had a heart attack. Died right there in the tandem room. Yeah, it is, man. Everybody thought it was due to drugs and stuff, but he just had a heart attack, Knowing him, might have been, but, I ain't going to say that or not say anything about it. But, yeah, we lost him. But just been another thing I was wanting to add to the show is rest in peace, Tracy Smothers. He passed away 2 days ago.
Yeah, it's just horrible news.
Yeah, he was battling cancer and stuff. And when I was in USWA with him, he gave me a lot of advice, and he was always there. He was one of the boys. I was there to take care of the boys. So condolences to his family and everything.
There is something that I do want to apologize to our audience for. If you guys seen it on Facebook, but I'm not going to name this specific wrestling vendor, but right after Tracy Smothers passes away, I don't think it's a right to even post autographed pictures of them if you're formally known as a vendor, because you know that your intent is to sell the autographed pictures. I was very mad seeing that on Facebook earlier. I'm not going to name names. I made a very maybe extreme comment, but it was just out of respect to Tracy and everything he dedicated. He doesn't deserve something like that. Get an autograph photo for money right before he's buried. So I'm very upset about that one vendor, and he knows who he is, who would decide to sell an autographed picture of someone right after that. You should consider human compassion first before anything. I'm sure you'd agree.
Yeah, I agree, bro. 110%, man. Taking advantage of somebody that's gone and can't take it for themselves. I want to mention this. There was also another vendor, I ain't gonna mention names, that had a guest of his on the show, and he just signed for him. He didn't let the guest autograph for him. He just signed for him. And I guess he got a lot of heat over that. The guest got mad. Once they found out it was the vendor that did that, I guess he refunded his money and all this and that. But that's not right either. That's why when I see them shows like that, the camera needs to be on them signing it and then putting it up to the camera or the phone or whatever, and showing that they did sign it. So
I agree.
There's a lot of that out there, and it's pitiful, man. It just makes the business look bad. It makes all of us look bad.
There's a lot of just these wrestling vendors, and if I could use quotations with my two fingers, you could see that on camera. Actually, yeah, you can see that on camera. On the podcast, you can't, but on the live scene on YouTube, you can. Quotation marks if you feel that you're a booking agent or a vendor, you should do that out of the best interest of the wrestler and use some reasonable prices too. The same vendor decided to offer me $500 for a big name interview, where through another vendor or booking agent, I could get him for $150. So clearly, that's extra money that he's going to try to put in his pocket to take advantage of. And if a wrestler sets a price, I don't care how much it is, but I don't think a booking agent or a vendor should adjust the price differently, because I know a guy like Carlito is not going to charge you $500 because he's done for people for free before because he's a good guy. Where the same vendor would charge $500 through him. That's not right. I don't feel the money goes to the wrestler then, which is even worse. Those are the people that are kind of hurting the business a little bit, if you know what I mean.
I know what you mean. I'm just sitting there thinking about that. How many autographs I've given away for free? And get out, done with the show, go out, they sign an autograph. You don't really think about money, but here just the last few years, them vendors just got them shows where they've taken over Facebook. There's so many of them out there now. I'm following some of them to see what they're doing, who all they're having, and some of them's doing good. Some of them's, like you said, just taking advantage of the. Because if they're a good guy, one of the boys or ladies, they won't be charging people that much money. Charge them a little bit, that's cool, but not $500 like you mentioned.
No, not at all. Not at all. Especially if someone like Dan the Beast Severn totally did it free of charge. So it's
oh yeah.
It's just one of those things, and I understand there's a lot of people that might set prices because of their personal or financial situation. Maybe they have to provide for their kids. I totally respect that. And if you offered me a price up front before the interview, I'd gladly negotiate it. It's just that, this whole third party thing, it should I kind of miss it back in the old days. Well, back in the old days, there were no interviews like this. There were no podcasts because the business was protected so much.
Exactly.
And now it's exposed.
Kayfabe all the way back then. Bill Watson in Oklahoma, if you got caught even being in a restaurant in the same room together and didn't even know your opponent, if you was doing a hot angle together, if you didn't even know your opponent was in there, one of the stooges would tell him, and you'd be fined and fired, mainly fined real hard. But, yeah, they'd send you off to another territory. That's what's killed the business right there.
Yeah.
Real bad.
But there's one thing that is good about our business. And when we watch a match, and when I watch a solid match, when it extends belief, where it makes you think, oh, wow, that actually looks fucking crazy. Is he hurt? That is one example of extending belief, as well as many other forms of expanding belief within the audience. But what were some of those crowds in your careers, in your career, like from the early 90s that kind of had the best crowds? I'm sure it was WCCW those few times, but were there any others? What about Capital Sports Promotions in Puerto Rico?
Capital Sports Promotions. That was one territory where you always had to watch your back and never go up in the stands. I did it a few times, and then I went back to the dressing room, and Dick Murdoch, I wish to say, would chew on me and tell me, I told you guys not to go up in the stands. They would carry knives. If you had heat down there, real heat, they would carry knives, break off bottles, and try to stab you with them, cut you with them,
Spark plugs, piss.
Spark plugs. Yeah, while you was in the ring, they would, where they get that urine out of is when we mainly wrestled in baseball diamonds, so you come out of the dugout.
That's kind of cool, actually, because we were a baseball show, too. Shane Human, check it out. Last from Friday night. But just quick shout out. Anyways, go on about those Puerto Rico baseball stadiums. How were those, too, by the way? Were there some beautiful ones?
There were some great ones, man. They were awesome. It was hot. And I tell you what, over here, they shut down a game if it's lightning. They don't shut down there if it's lightning. We wrestled so many thunderstorms over. It's awesome, man. You slam the guy or you get slammed in the rain, and the puddles of water just flew up in there. First time I did that, I said, these people are crazy, man. They don't stop for nothing. Fans are getting a kick out of it. They pour that urine in them styrofoam Pepsi cups, and as you was walking out the dugout through them tunnels, going back from the dressing room to the ring, they'd pour them on you.
Oh,
and there and back, they take spark plugs or rocks, and believe me, the kids, they were gonna make some. That's why Puerto Ricans are good baseball players because
Oh, very good.
them kids were the best pitchers. If they would have went and played pro, because man, they'd hit you dead in the head and the groins and wherever they could hit you, they would. And it was funny. They tried to throw them at me. When I didn't get hit, I'd pick it up and start hitting the baby face with it, and that's what really made them mad. But I've been in the ring with guys before. The referee would accidentally get hit, and some of them got knocked out once in a while. And that was funny. Well, they really got mad about that. But yeah, they just. But the Puerto Rican fans, I tell you what, I do respect them. When you're out in public, they respect you. You know, when I was one half tag team champions down there with Rot and Ron Starr. They called me champ when I was on the streets. They always respected me, and I always respected them. Manny Fernandez was down there one day, and he was walking. They do a lot of construction down there, building them hotels. And Manny Fernandez was walking and said something bad to one of the construction workers that was shoveling out a ditch, and that guy jumped out of the ditch and hit him a couple of times with that shovel.
Oh,
And
my.
that's the last time he ever said anything wrong to the fans. You respect them out there, and they'll respect you. But in the ring, it's all business, man. I mean, if you're a heel there and a good heel and got heat, goodness, man, it's awesome. But yeah, the crowds are, like I said, you had to watch your back, and if you want respect, you get respect, and you give respect, you get respect. I tell you what, go ahead, brother.
Oh no, I was just actually gonna say, like, I just have to touch this man. Like, wrestling for the USWA Tag Team title against Jeff Jarrett and Robert Fuller at the Mid-South Coliseum, man. Come on. You gotta say that's a good one.
That was a great one, brother. Not
Many
many
times,
people
too,
say.
more than once.
Oh, we was there every Monday night. See, we shot our TV Saturday mornings, and it aired at 1 that afternoon. We shot TV in Memphis. It had a brutal schedule, man. That was. I went and asked Jerry Jarrett one time, and he thought I was joking. I wasn't. I said, "Sir, can we pay mileage to go to these shows?" Because it was a constant. So we went to Memphis twice a week from Nashville, where everybody lived at, and we went to Memphis twice a week, and it was a 2.5, 3 hour drive there. And you know we do, but the Mid-South Coliseum. I always told guys breaking into business, the fans or whoever that really loved the sport of professional wrestling was. If you've ever been somebody in this great sport, you've ever wrestled in the Mid-South Coliseum, the Sportatorium in Dallas, Texas, or the Portland Sports Arena in Portland, Oregon. There's 3 classic places that some of these guys that hadn't worked in promotion because they're shut down now will never get an opportunity to do it unless they start running shows again there because, you know, I know all these independent guys around here. I see pictures of them on Facebook with the Mid-South Coliseum in the background, you know. They can't get in. I mean, that's just one thing. And I got the privilege of working all 3 of them. But the Mid-South, we worked there every Monday night. We shot our TV on Saturday mornings. It aired that day, and we shot the angle on Monday night to Mid-South. That's where all the money was at all week.
How was that?
And they brought the money.
Money, yeah. We'll talk more about
It wasn't, you know, it had its weeks, it had its nights, you know. Sometimes we would get $100, you know, that was a down night. Of course, if you're holding one of the straps, you get paid more. Back then, they didn't sell merchandise. These independent guys nowadays are selling their merch, and they're making more money off their merch than they are off
their
the payoff, you know. Exactly, brother, and I always tell them when I talk to one, man, get as much merch as you can, you know, and
different merch too.
Because
Like go to a dollar store and get candy and sell that too. Put it in bags, like anything.
Yeah, anything, brother. That says, I got a bag of candy speaking of Happy Halloween, I got a bag of candy from Jordan Garber, you know, and something like that, you know, or from the Pretty Boy, wrap it up in a bow or something. And but yeah, it's. I even thought about coffee mugs, you know, just something everybody drinks coffee. I mean, most people drink coffee, so that'd be a good gimmick to have, you know. Whatever you sell more than just pictures and T-shirts, you know. Whatever you sell more of, buy more of, you know. If you get somebody that makes good merchandise and have one like your normal T-shirt person, your normal picture person, and other gimmicks like that, what they're doing. You know, you can make a decent living doing this. There's some guys going down to Texas every weekend, and that's all they're doing is wrestling. They're wrestling on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, and they're making that for time they get their payoff and their gimmick sales, merch sales. They're making a decent living. You know, back then it was territories. There's no territories no more. But I've had old timers tell me back then, back in the 2000s, right when 2000 was starting out, that we're going to go back to territories. I think it's going to try to transition back to territories like it was in the 90s and the 80s. I don't know if it, because there, you know, you quit here in Oklahoma one day and be in Texas 6 weeks later working, you know, and stay there for
Yeah.
6 months. Go to nowhere, you know, and that was awesome. You know, God, man, it's so fun. You know, you had a girlfriend in every town, and yeah, and it was just great. You had your regular people that followed you. They were there. They didn't know when they was going to come back in and stuff. But the Mid-South Coliseum, they bring in Flair and the headliners on the Monday night. They'd be there for TV Saturday morning, shoot the angle, and on Monday night to be at the Mid-South Coliseum. That's how we shot our angles there. And Sportatorium, hot and cold. There was no air conditioner or heater in there. I don't know how many times I went down there and couldn't shoot TV because it was below freezing. The cameras wouldn't work. So I just had to play a rerun. But yeah, it was hot and it was cold. But you had your old fans there, man. Bundled up or out there with the fan, you know, fan herself in the summertime. But it was awesome, man. If I've used this a lot of times on my show. If only walls could talk, just how many people will step foot in that Mid-South Coliseum, you know what I'm saying? Or the Sportatorium. Back in the 50s and stuff, man. They always said, Jared Lawler told me that in Mid-South Coliseum, Elvis was a big wrestling fan.
Oh, is that right?
When he wasn't working, they had them big doors that open up to get the buses and the ring and all that stuff. And they'd drive him in there, and he'd sit in the dressing rooms. We had TV monitors in it because they always filmed it. And he sat back there with the boys and watched wrestling, watched the matches and stuff, man. So, yeah, I've heard that different from different people, like Lawler, Dundee, and a couple other guys that worked back then. They tell the stories about Elvis. Elvis was cool, man. He liked the boys. He knew the business, but he liked it, man. And he knew about it, you know, and all that stuff. Of course, he got smartened up, babyface and heels together, you know, back there in the back. But them two places in the Portland Sports Arena in Portland, Oregon.
Portland Wrestling.
Portland Wrestling, man. Every Saturday night at 10 o'clock. Stayed on for an hour and a half. We recorded at 7, aired at 10.
Jimmy Jack Funk, John Rambo, Bart Sawyer, who's a good guy, and then Scott Norton, Larry Oliver, and Scotty the Body.
Yeah, Scotty Body. Yeah, he's raving now, Scotty the Body.
Scotty Flamingo, yeah. Formerly known as that, and then he had a good career in ECW and reached the world ranks.
Yeah.
Well, which was the world ranks, but he reached the world ranks under a different character. And in my opinion, I believe an enhanced one. That was a genius idea coming up with that Raven character.
Raven, that was great, and he always wanted to do it back there.
Is that right?
He had something behind him he wanted to do, but the booker, Len Denton, the grappler, he didn't like the ideal. So he always had something. Once he ventured off and went on to work for other territories, you know, I'm sure he come up with that was his ideal because he was always talking about it, you know. But he said, no, let's go this route. Let's do this. You know, he'd always say, well, let's just try and see if it works, you know. Well, if it didn't work, it killed him right then. So he had to go with what worked to guarantee it would work, you know.
Now, you say the grappler Len Denton, who I never interviewed on the Jordan Garber Now podcast, but I had an honor to be a part of a show of on the Angry Marks podcast about, I don't know, 6 years ago. But, like, what was he like in the day? Because he was pretty anal about everything when it came to certain spots and pinpoints.
Oh, yeah. As a matter of fact, I had Lenny on 3 weeks ago.
Oh, right on. How's he doing?
Yeah, he's doing good. He lives in Tennessee. He moved from Portland, lives in Tennessee, and works. I don't know what he does. He does something and works. He still works. He works for SWE. You know, the guy, the person that's there at the curtain and tells the guys when to go out and all that stuff. That's what he does.
Oh, that's cool. That's awesome.
That's what he's doing now. He don't work in the ring very much anymore. He just does that now. He's working for them. He's doing great, man. He's the one. Him and Roddy Piper's the one who brought me and Bart Sawyer to the Pacific Northwest. You know, and when we left to go there, he said, don't be surprised. You know, we're not hiring you. We're gonna look at you first. That was a long ways to drive, just not get picked. When we got done with that match that night, he come back and said, "You guys find a place to live." You know, I was like, "Cool." But yeah, pinpoints. He's strictly kayfabe. He's still kayfabe's good. I mean, yeah, he was good, easy to work with, worked snug, old time finishes, really precise about being on time. You know, and he I rode with him quite a bit up in Portland, and he was in charge of TV, of course, being the booker. And on Saturday nights going to the show, he'd ask me, "What's this look like? What's this sound like?" And if I didn't like it, he'd get my he said, "Well, give me your honest opinion." I told a few guys I said I run them TVs a few times because there was something I wanted to change, and he said, "Let's try that. It sounds better." So he was really good with ideals. He really, because one booker can't do the whole card all the time. They run out of ideals, you know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. You know what? Just like the times go by so fast. And I wasn't around in that time, but like, and I probably don't wish I was because I wouldn't have been able to handle the rough side of the business, man. It was a tough industry at the time, definitely competing out there and being the best. But you know what made you come up with your podcast after wrestling? And when you did that, like, how much contribution did that really take? Because like that's a whole new adjustment. You know, you're working from in the ring to doing what I'm doing, and for me, I swear every time I set one of these fucking things up sometimes. So, how is it
Yeah.
for you? How is your adjustment to get a podcast going and everything?
It was rough at first. I'm still, I got a co-host that was up in Oregon, and he had his own podcast, and we're I kind of feed off him. He kind of feeds off me. He's good. He was never a wrestler, but he was a journalist. He wrote for some newspapers. He was good like that. And as being a wrestler, one of the boys or the ladies, you want to be friends with them guys because they can make you or break you. They can make you sound bad or make you put you over. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But when I got out of the business, couldn't do it anymore. I went through a major depression. I didn't know what to do, man. Being off the road was fine after a while, but after a while, I was like, man, I want to do this so bad again. I went through major depression, and that's when podcast was basically just starting up, and I actually had to talk to a psychologist for that and some other things. He said, "You ever heard of these podcasts? Why don't you try that?" So I was a guest on the Action VR Network, one of the venues that I'm on now. And then somebody had a falling out. I think the guy passed away that had one before me. I was a guest on it, and then a guest on my co-host podcast, and they offered me my own show. And I thought, well, I gotta get used to doing this, and stuff. So they said, well, you're not, you talk good, so that's cool. So yeah, I just got used to going in that and when to say go to commercial stuff, but I'm still learning, But the transition, it it was different. I'd say about 60% different because I wasn't used to, I was used to doing a promo and being in front of the camera and talking or whatever and doing a promo. But as far as being on the air and having, people call in, ask questions, and me feeding back and forth with them, it took me a little bit to get used to it. But like I said, I'm still getting used to it. But the transition was probably about 60% transition for me. It was anyway. So other than that, man, it's cool. It's on every Thursday night, 7 p.m. Central, and I'm getting more and more guests, more and more viewers, and I'm liking it, man. If I can't do it live on Thursdays, we record it like you do during the week, and then play it on Thursday night. So it's fun. I enjoy doing it. I still like to get in the ring. I still like going around the boards, hanging out with them, going out with them, and stuff like that, or having them ask my advice or something like that. And if I can help them or tell them, I will. And but the transition was just. How was it for you going from a referee to podcasting?
Well, like, I started out in 2008 with my first ever phone interview, and then I kind of, like, took a few years as a break, and then I remember I came back as a podcast. So I started out as a podcaster in 2013, and actually how I ref became an emergency situation as they didn't have a ref available in Saskatoon. They needed an extra referee. So, as a podcaster and me being a podcaster for a while and having no one else to find, they decided to bring me on board, and I pretty much became a referee from there.
Well, see, it's getting easier for me. I'm asking the questions now, huh?
But no, man, I the adjustment, like, I love this, man. Uh,
Yes.
there's a lot of malfunctions at times, and it can be frustrating. But like, I love being a referee too, and having the best seat in the house, and working in front of a crowd. But the thing is with as a podcaster, this is the ultimate skill I'm good at, and I love doing it. And I want to make sure I can continue to interview a list of names like yourself and contribute to a daily product.
Thank you, bro. You do a great job at it. Enjoy listening to shows. Enjoy being on them. And I thought about refereeing here a while back, but after I got my knee replacements, it's still too hard to get up and down. You got to get down there. You can't be one of them lazy ass referees that just bend
Yeah,
over.
you got to get down quick. I
You
always
got
get down
you got
quick.
to get down there. You got to jump over them. You got to do because the referee man is the third man in the match. He can make or break a match.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And a lot of refs are afraid to get heat. You know, a lot of them hate to get heat, man, because they don't like to get heat out there. You know, like not seeing a foreign object or tights being pulled or something like that. They don't like to get something. There's a lot of referees out there that I've worked with didn't like to. They just had to do it, and some of them wouldn't do it. That's the ones that didn't ref very long.
It's being a ref's hard because in ways,
Yes.
the way you say pulling the tights and those, it's really funny how you say that because I'd be brought up those spots before prior hand and I'd be successful at it, or at times I'd also not be successful at it, but that's how you learn. But the biggest scenario that happened once is I remember I did like a Tony Condello summer show, and it was a match, and a veteran, he wasn't really happy with me at the time. We had an argument on Facebook and everything, and
Oh wow.
yeah, it was pretty crazy. It actually turned into an angle on CWE where like he'd say, fuck you, Jordan Garber, like on a live stream, kind of working the crowd.
Wow.
So it kind of turned into it was a shoot/work kind of scenario. So it was pretty funny. But we overcame it and we did that. But after that, I reffed one of his matches, obviously, because I'm nervous, right? Because I did all this shit talking. Because I'm young, I'm learning. And he did the rope thing with the foot on the ropes, and I didn't even know about that prior. My positioning was just perfect that one match only, and it was good. Like, he told me, though, after, like, and I say this to anybody, Don Vega, I'm not going to go into this too much. Let's not talk about this too much, because it's inevitable, it's true. But my positioning might be good and all that as a ref, but fuck, man, I have so much to work on, and the one day I feel like I don't have anything to learn, I should just leave, because you're learning something every day. I'm sure you'd agree with that.
Oh, I agree. I remember 10%, brother. The ref can make a match, and I love a good ref. And sometimes as a heel calling the match, you have to tell the ref what to do. Somebody's green, or somebody just don't have a lot of experience and still learning, and it's cool when one of them would come up to me and ask that. Well, we're going to do this finish here. How do I need to be positioned? And it's just timing, like the match is, you know what I'm saying? It's just timing where you're at. If I got somebody that's a little green and don't know what's going on or not where not to be positioned, as I'm going to some false finishes, I'll like my second, third false finish. I'll say, okay, we're going to the finish. Position yourself, and that's something I would discuss with him before the match. And then majority of the time it works out, so they'd always say thank you, and I'd tell him thank you, and first time I do go back in the dressing room and talk to my opponent, I'd tell him thank you, and I'd tell the referee thank you. So it's great, and it's another thing I like to put over as a commentary. One of the best ones was Gordon Slowly.
Oh, my favorite.
Gordon Slowly. Jim Ross is good too. Yeah, Jim Ross is great. And being from Oklahoma like I am, he's about an hour from where I live at, where he lives at. I don't know if he still lives there or not, but Gordon Soler was one of the best, man. He could tell technically. He called the match, basically. You know what I'm saying? I love this game. He loves this to him. That'll make or break a match, too, as a commentator. It's just a package deal, man. It's a business. That's why they call it the business.
Gordon Solie was certainly one of the best announcers in the business, that's for sure. What was going on in '98 with was it ICPW or Global Pro Wrestling out of Fort Smith, Princeton, and Little Rock, Arkansas? Where did it all...
Oh, it's IPW. What did you first call it? IWP?
Global Pro Wrestling.
Global, okay.
Or ICPW, one of those two.
ICPW. Remember the guy that used to make the boots out of Paris, Arkansas, named Bill Ash? He was called Wild Bill Ash. He wrestled for years. Started back in the 70s, I think it was. But when he retired, him and his dad, No, they had a boot company called B&A Boot Shop out of Paris, Arkansas. And majority of the boots, they got flat soles on them. This guy named Howard out of Amarillo, he makes the boots that are heavier and got the heel on them.
Yeah.
If you can tell the difference, you can tell where they've been made from. Well, he had a company. He first started out with a 30-minute show. Then that was like one match, two matches at the most. And then we ran some house shows. But I worked for him a lot, man. That's when I was first starting out. I was green as grass. But, yeah, we ran a lot of shows around Arkansas, Fort Smith, Jonesboro. But mainly just Arkansas. He'd come in Oklahoma a little bit, but just mainly Arkansas, where he was from. And he ran off his boot company and all that stuff. But that was there in Global. Global was a federation that was in Texas that ran the Sportatorium after the World Class shut down. They ran for about 2 years. Brought in old World Class guys. I've been King Parsons, Gary Hart was there, Steve Cox, Akbar. They bring in some of the guys that were still working for Global, for the U.S. World Class. Brought them, kept them, and just ran off that. And what they did, they ran on ESPN every day at 3 o'clock nationwide. And then they only ran one spot show a week. That was to do TV, and they was making money. It was syndicated, so they was making money off of that. We're not doing 4 or 5 nights a week. The boys loved it. They were still getting paid, plus they don't work 1 night a week. So, yeah, that was the two organizations there that come along. And I think they ran for about 2 years and shut down, and eventually they tore the Sportatorium down. And but yeah, Bill Ash, he had that company out of Arkansas, and it drew some money and drew some houses. We had 30-minute TVs. If you got 2 hours, sometimes you can have too much. Like Raw is 3 hours. I think it's a little too much. An hour is about all you need. Up in Portland, we had an hour and a half. But in Arkansas, we had 30 minutes, and it's like real quick. Not very commercials. The match is not long. You'd be lucky to get 3 in. 2 was the most. But, you just shot your angles off them 2 matches, so to go for the next week and then see what happens,
So, we like to do a top 3 on the podcast here, and then we'll touch up on some current news. But the top 3 on the podcast here, top 3 hottest cities with hottest crowds in the territories you worked back in your day. You can only name 3.
Oh, the top 3 territories?
Not just territories, but cities or towns you worked in that had the hottest crowds.
Nashville was one of them. We worked Memphis Saturday morning and drove back to Nashville and worked Nashville Saturday night at the fairgrounds. Nashville was a hot territory. Dallas, Texas, of course. I mentioned that. And Portland. Louisville, Kentucky was a good one.
That's a nice city.
That was a real nice city. The arena was on Muhammad Ali Boulevard. Not Jonesboro, but Evansville, Indiana was a good city. I loved the arena. It made a lot of noise. They kept it setting up there all the time. It made a lot of noise.
Huh.
I'm trying to think here again. See, I didn't get to work much in Florida. Puerto Rico, San Juan was a good one, and Bayamon was a good one. It was always sold out. No matter who had on a card, they loved wrestling. So that was most of our payday on Saturday night. Was our payday. So we all knew when we pull up to the arena, we was getting paid. It was sold out. Thing about working ball fields is they only sit on one side. It's not all around the arena like a Major League Baseball is. It's just one side, so you just ran the camera to the one side.
But WWC, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was that with Carlito's father?
Carlos, yeah.
Carlos?
I was with Carlos Colon, yeah. Carlos,
any experiences with Carlos, actually?
Oh, yeah.
How was he?
He was real good. Real good. See, the thing about Puerto Rico compared to a couple sports promotions, we bled all night, every night.
Yeah.
And they believed in that. Red makes green. I still believe in that. They don't do enough of it nowadays. But yeah, he was like a night off, you know. It was all easy. Of course, he was a baby face. I don't think he turned heel one year when I was down there. This last, I don't know, the ninth time I was down there, he turned heel. Murdoch turned him heel, or turned Invader heel, the one that killed Brody. You know, I'll go say that because everybody knows he did it. God rest his soul, but it's not brought up very much anymore.
Was that Invader
That
1, 2, or 3?
one.
1.
That's a
Hernandez. Something
yes,
Hernandez.
Hernandez. When I was in USWA, Eric Emery was the booker, and he said, "Well, we got your notice." Me and Bart had our notice. We'd been there almost a year, and he said, "You guys get over in Puerto Rico because Eric just come from Puerto Rico booking down there." So Bart didn't want to go because he was scared of Brody. I was one of them that went over there after Brody got murdered, and he didn't invite me. Matter of fact, the first night I was in the territory field, the Cuban assassin Fidel Sierra, he come up to me and goes, "How did you like working the guy that killed Brody?" And I said, "It was a night off, man. There was nothing. He wouldn't. I've heard so many stories of that, and it's just pitiful over money, man. Money, man. But yeah, there was some of the top territories I worked. Memorial Hall, Kansas City, Missouri, for Bob Geigel. That was another good one.
Kansas City, Missouri. Wow. Another great football town too, actually.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
That's crazy about Brody though. Like, were you
crazy.
around during that time? Like on the same roster? Were you there?
No, I was in Tennessee, and right after that murder happened, everybody left. They were needing talent. That's when I went. My partner Bart Sargent didn't want to go. He went to Tennessee, or back to Portland.
How were the locker rooms after that? Were they kind of like haunted? Was it edgy, or was it just a regular locker room?
It was edgy. It was kind of edgy. Big cockroaches, frogs, big old toe frogs. It was nasty. You always wore shoes in the shower, of course. My partner, Ron Starr, wrestled Jose the night after he stabbed Brody. He went back home, took a shower. He said he locked up with him in the ring, and his heart was beating 1,000 miles an hour. He thought he'd been out doing dope. He thought he was going to have a heart attack home in the ring. He worked him right after that, but then they finally got the ring down, and finally, eventually, they acquitted him and all this and that. And none of the boys that had seen it or been around it got their notice to go to court, so there was no witnesses, so it had to be dropped. So
and it was in a place with different laws too at the time, like
exactly. And the Capital Sports Promotion, or Wrestling Council, they were run off the mafia. The casinos, if they were having a bad time not drawing no money, the casinos would always come through with the money. So it was kind of a package deal there. But
definitely, but the crowd in Puerto Rico and Mexico, the thing is, no matter what level of crime or no crime they're on, they cater to the crowd, they cater to the audience, and they love and crave entertainment. And if you entertain them, you're on the same page as they are. I should assume.
Yes, sir. Like I said, entertain them, be respectable, and respect them. You'll have no problem. Flies over 9 times. About a year every time. I loved it. Just hot every day, hot and humid. Rain every morning, 10 o'clock, turn humid and hot. But, yeah, you got used to it for a while. Keep me in shape.
Definitely probably good for your cardio, things along those lines.
Great for cardio. I had a great tan, enjoyed it. People, women, that we go out at night, and they'd come up to you and go, "Ain't this great working over here?" Because they'd come on vacation over there, and we'd be working,
Yeah.
And they say, "God, you got an awesome job," I said, yeah.
That's crazy stuff, man. So what have you been following in terms of recent trends? Like I know I asked this question before. What do you think about the WWE Thunderdome? Should they keep it? Should they eliminate it?
It's different. It really is. I don't know how about you going to get on there to be a guest. I think you got to go through a drawing or something like that. I don't know. They've spent a lot of money on that, but Vince, being a billionaire, he can afford to do it. To me, with all them fans making that noise, it would be a little bit easier to work. Man, my name was at the or the entertainment center or wherever the performance center. I'll tell you what, that would be hard working in front of nobody. You know what I'm saying? Certainly doing live TV. Working out's one thing, but working in front of nobody,
Because
that
you're
would be
trained to
hard.
work in front of crowds.
Exactly, you feed off the crowd,
It's an adjustment.
and they didn't have nobody, and they went and did pay-per-views there. So them coming up performance center, I think for the boys, I think they should keep it because at least there's some interaction. I mean, you can look at them, the people see them on TV, and you look at them, they respond to you since they got all the faces up there now and the noise and all that stuff. So I think they should keep it. So
I agree too. It gives people, and I know how to sign up and win, so I want to be on WWE. I want to be in the Thunderdome and have that experience for myself as a fan personally. What are some best beer you had on the road, man?
the what?
Best beer you had on the road. Like,
Oh,
what was
best
your
beer.
go-to beer? Go-to beer, man.
Coors Light. That's what all the boys drink. Coors Light. Arn Anderson drink Miller Lite. Ric Flair drink Kamikazes. He come in the bar one night down there and he said, "Give me 30 Kamikazes, 15 for I don't know who he wasn't. He bought me a few, but I wasn't hanging around him because he was babyface. They're not a heel down there, and they was doing me a transition back and forth.
Was he nice
But
to you? Good guy?
great guy, man. Worked him one time in Tennessee.
Oh,
The
wow,
guy didn't
shit.
show up. The guy didn't show up to work. It was a short match, but he said, "Just listen to me, kid." And that's all he said. And when I come back, he goes, "You got a career in this business." And that was before I had the straps on me. That was like before my partner got there. I was just getting in the territory, right? And somebody didn't show up. So I got it, I was like, wow, cool. He said, "Give me 30 kamikazes, 10 for him, and 15 for him, and or them, 15 for them, and 15 for me." He drank 15 of them that night. He drank a bunch of them. He could
Do they
drink
still sell those kamikazes?
I don't know.
I don't know either. I
know,
have to look
man.
that up.
I always drank beer and took shots of tequila, down there.
Tequila's strong, man. I got my
tequila's
my
strong.
Jack.
You got your Jack. I got my Jim when I drink. Cause I like Jim Beam. I can drink that pretty straight. Jim Beam, Hank Williams Jr. drink, and yeah, Jim Beam, Coors Light. I drink Natural Light. I ain't too fond of Bud. People say Bud.
Bud sucks, man. But it's safe
I
to
don't
say,
like it at all, man.
it's just
No.
the grainy flavor. But like most of the boys drank Coors, you say. Like if you could say the
Coors
most popular
Light.
beer, Coors Light.
Coors Light, brother.
Gonna have to
Coors
buy
Light,
some.
Yeah.
Relive the '80s there for a bit.
Relive the 80s, yeah. I might do that, yeah. Miller Lite, I like Miller Lite.
That's good too.
Miller's good. Matter of fact, I got some. I'm staying with my sister right now, and she's had to go to the store, so she's bringing me back with some Miller. So
No.
you want me to go before the show? And I said, "No, wait till after I do my show, do the interview here. Probably want to be
Enjoy it
one thing
after.
enjoy it after. I want to enjoy a few of them after when she gets back. So yeah."
What was like
But,
some good food you had? Like, do you remember some good restaurants you traveled to through the years? In the Waffle House or anything that you enjoyed with the boys?
Denny's.
Oh
Denny's.
yeah, with the boys too. I
Yep.
remember going to Denny's with the boys. That was
Denny's,
fun.
man. Down in Puerto Rico at the Isla Verdes, the motel we all hung out at, stayed at. The boys, they just took the rent out of your room. Sometimes they didn't take it out of your room. I had a contract with them. Denny's 3 blocks from there, man. We was eating at breakfast, lunch, and dinner, man. We tore that place up. And the Marks, man. People come on vacation and hit Denny's, and sign autographs. They was doing the same thing. "You got a cool job, man. We're gonna go to the mansions." And I said, "Right, we tell them if there's a mansion town or whatever." Excuse me. And Denny's, man. Waffle House was good. Olive Garden was good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's a few restaurants. And for $5, this chick we lived at, this old lady, they ate a lot of rice and beans down in Puerto Rico. For $5, you can get a big old pan of that. We could eat on that for 4 or 5 days, man, just eating it up.
Oh wow, yeah, that helps.
For $5, yeah, that and them fajitas and all that stuff.
All that good stuff.
Yeah, all that great stuff, man. You're making me hungry now.
Honestly, man, it seems like you're very happy with your dream and your objective. I want to give you credit for that. It's not easy to excel in an industry that is very hard hitting and action-packed, both mentally and physically. So, Doug, every time you come on the show here, it's nothing more than a huge contribution, and I can't thank you enough for pulling through here and being the main event interview for our Halloween episode. You truly delivered, and I want to thank you more than anything. And not just for that, but all your contributions in the business and what you gave to people like me that are trying to be in there and fans as well, and all those memories. I want to thank you for that as well, and what you gave to the
You're
business.
welcome, brother. Like I said, I appreciate you coming on the show. You're doing good work. You got a good format going. You're very professional. You're like you do a show like I do mine. You'll see when you're on it. I just let you talk. I asked a few questions. I can ask 3 questions and go an hour. You know what I mean?
Oh, exactly.
You just got to ask questions and let the guys, because like my coach was telling me one night, he goes, let's let the guys talk. They were there, they're the ones that done it. People don't want to hear us, they want to hear them, you know? So,
well, I
I'll
felt
run
this
my
was
show.